All right, how's it going, everybody? This is Brian, and welcome back to the Tech Stack Playbook, your guide to apps, software, and tech, but in a fun way, I promise. So I am in an undisclosed secret location for AWS's Global Hero Summit, and I've been thinking a lot about just building on the cloud, building applications, building systems, and one of the things that I've been really thinking about too is just what are the skills for the future? What is something that if I was going to learn from the very beginning, what is something that I would want to know? And I've been doing a lot of development over the last 4 years, and that's actually how I got started. I was completely non-technical, and then now, 4 years later, I'm proud to be able to say that I'm an AWS Hero. And what I'm able to share with you is that it's a ton of work to go from completely non-coding, no background in tech, no tech anything, to then being an AWS Hero. And a lot of where I see probably the number one skill that I would recommend anybody to learn is the ability to learn. It's the ability to learn something very, very fast. And something that has helped me a lot is thinking about the whole second brain concept. So that was introduced to me when I started learning how to code. I was building, I was taking a lot of notes in like Google Docs, in my notebooks, taking notes in margins of books. And I had one of my colleagues at the time, ended up becoming one of my mentors, had told me about using Evernote or Notion or any of these other types of note-taking systems. And what becomes really powerful about these is that when you start documenting bugs that you face, systems that you build, you start creating cookbooks. When you start creating these libraries of resources, you then create your own library, and then you can reference that back, you can relearn from it. And I think the ability to take really good notes, and document those and then archive them so that they're in organized places, I think that will help you so much on your engineering journey. Just to think about some of the ideas that come up when you think about building out the second brain, and I know it kind of sounds a little bit like niche and a little bit weird, but just a second brain is just a repository of your thoughts and your different content that you save. And where that becomes really important is that when you are, building something. So let's say that, and I needed to do this within the past couple of years, you really needed to upskill on Python. So what you do is that you'll create, a notebook, and that will have your, it'll say Python in it. But then you start thinking about, how do I break this down to say, how do I get started? Maybe installing Python. How do I get started writing a simple script in Python? So those are going to be subtasks. How do I deploy a Python project? And then under deployment, there might be something like Fast API, there might be Streamlit, there might be Flask, there might be different other types of frameworks for building, a deployment for this. Let's say that you need to get this in the cloud. You could have a sub bucket or a sub notebook, and then that could say different cloud providers. So you could have like AWS, you could have Google, you could have Azure, you could have all these different Docker, you could have these different ways to deploy. So that's something that I think is really important for anybody to learn how to document those notes, as well as being able to learn it. And there is so much content online. Like I think about Udemy, I think about Coursera, I think about edX, I think about Udacity, I think about Uplimit, I think about a lot of these different learning platforms. Also, a lot of the cloud providers like AWS has amazing documentation, amazing workshops, amazing blog posts to learn how to build these types of systems. And that's where I think if you can start building out the second brain of resources that you can like search through and look through, I think that will help you so much, because then as you're learning, you're actively documenting and storing for your own historical record how you go about these systems. And it will also test you, are you able to then learn this content, but then also explain it to yourself and store it for later? Those skills will then set you up so that when you then go and you face a bug, you could go into like your Python bugs list and search through it to be like, oh, is it this bug? Is it this bug? Is it this bug? And if you have the solution on hand, well, now you're able to just go and figure out the solve for it. So that's where I think building out the second brain is so helpful, because it's reinforcing your ability to learn and also stay fluid. And also things change all the time. So sometimes when you have it in your notebook, you don't want to have to like scratch stuff out and rewrite it. You can just type, you can just like update the block. You could even give updates in your database of your notes, where then you could say like, okay, this worked up until this point, but now there's a breaking change, and now this is the recommended solution to go through. So that's where, when you build out how you learn, those are the skills that are really, really helpful, because once you can master and understand how you learn, then you can go about anything. So if you wanted to learn machine learning and AI, you create your AI machine learning notebook, and then subtitle. It's like how to get started, how to install these things, favorite APIs, favorite SDKs, cookbooks. Those are all separate titles. And then you could have like different items under the cookbook, like here's a recipe for PyTorch something, here's a recipe for TensorFlow something, here's a recipe for using LLMs with APIs, API keys or something like that. Here's, this for Amazon Bedrock, for something like that if you're building with AI on AWS. There's so many different ways that you can go and store your notes as you're learning. And then, of course, have to be interested and excited to learn. And that's something where if something's painful or annoying, you're not going to want to learn it. You're not going to be as excited about it. But if you can get excited and be about it, that will help you so much on your learning journey. So with that, I hope that this video is helpful for anybody that is interested in learning about how to learn. And also, this is just like what I think about as the number one skill for anybody that wants to get into tech, change your career, level up, change your life, all those types of things. Learning how to learn is one of those paramount skills. So with that, hope this video finds you well wherever you are tuning in from in the world, and I'll see you next time. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.